Okay, we're going to move on to our final story, and this has to do with Bill Gates and climate change. It says Bill Gates, this is also from CNBC, softens the climate disaster approach, says the strategy needs to shift in an interview. Also, in a letter published Tuesday, today, Microsoft's co-founder Bill Gates said too many resources are going toward climate change instead of issues like welfare and poverty. Wow, that's a big comment. That is a big comment from Bill Gates. Bill Gates is famously known for many initiatives, but certainly from various climate change initiatives. He continues, climate is super important, but has to be considered in terms of overall human welfare, Gates told CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin in an exclusive interview. I didn't pick that position because everybody agrees with it. It's, I think, intellectually the right answer. And he's got a good point. So, two things. One, if you look at less developed countries than America, they can struggle significantly when climate change targets are put upon them. America is in a great spot. We have a lot of energy. We have a very high standard of living, such that we can worry about different things when it comes to the environment. You can most likely, depending on where you live, but most likely in America, you can go onto your utility provider and say, hey, I only want to buy my electricity from renewable sources. You can do that. You have that choice. Many countries don't have that choice. And in some cases, being renewable or green or sustainable is more expensive than the alternative, such as perhaps using coal or oil. If you go to a very underdeveloped country who already has, say, an unstable electricity grid, and you don't actually have to go to such an underdeveloped country to do that. You can go to a moderately developed country that has a far worse power grid than America in terms of the stability of electricity. And if you tell them, hey, this all has to be from green sources, they don't have the money to even remotely convert all of their power over to green sources. They just don't. And they don't even have a reliable enough distribution system to deliver the power from the less green sources as it is. So this causes a problem. And then you want to tell those countries to focus on that. And meanwhile, they have a whole host of other issues. And then to tell them, and I'm just picking on the energy front, but there's a variety of things that fall under this. Whether it could be construction methods, right? So I know Bill Gates has talked before about how the construction process, especially making concrete, very energy intensive, right? So you go to one of these countries and say, no, you can't use concrete. How are they expected to develop? So that's one example. Another example, which is the most extreme, and I'm sure many of you have seen this before, there's videos of climate activists laying in the middle of the road, blocking cars. And I'm not sure, it's not confirmed, but in some of these videos, you'll have people getting out of their cars complaining that they are trying to get to the hospital, that they either personally have a medical emergency or they're trying to get to the hospital to assist a loved one that's at the hospital having a medical emergency. And now this is a most extreme example, but the climate activists don't care because they believe, as the words have been used before, that this is a climate disaster. This is a catastrophe. If this isn't solved, then we're all gone. And so that's the kind of logic and singular focus that leads people to laying down in the middle of the road and blatantly looking at someone else who's saying that they're trying to get to the hospital, they're having a medical emergency, but you're laying in the road because, well, there's a climate disaster going on. And that's much more important. Right? So that's obviously taken to, I'm not blaming Bill Gates for that, but that's obviously taken to the most extreme case. If you put climate above everything else, you get some wild outcomes. Not just holding back other countries, not just distracting developed countries' outlook, but in some cases possibly harming people that are trying to get medical help. That's a big deal. So there's one more quote here, and this is actually from the Microsoft sustainability chief, Melanie Nakagawa. And she says, however, the force creating this distance from our goals, so she's referring to the goals on climate change and preparing for climate change, being more sustainable. She's saying the force creating the distance from our goals, those goals, in the short term is the same one that will help us build a bigger, faster, and more powerful rocket. A more powerful rocket to reach them in the long term. Artificial intelligence. It all comes back to AI. So she's saying we have to build and focus on AI. We can't focus entirely on sustainability. And it just so happens AI and the data centers that run it are so incredibly power hungry that they are not serving the interest of sustainability. So we have some confrontation. If AI is so important and it's the future, but sustainability and the potentially upcoming climate disaster is the most important thing, then in theory, we wouldn't develop any AI right now. We'd say, no, you can't build those data centers. You can't do that. There's a climate disaster. But she's saying, again, this is the head of sustainability at Microsoft. She's saying, hey, we have to sacrifice that sustainability goal right now. Because think of all the amazing things that we can create with AI as it gets more advanced. It may then provide the shortcut to solving a lot of sustainability issues. So we have to divert focus from sustainability for now in the hopes that we can return to it and tackle it more effectively. Because if we only focus on sustainability and we ignore AI, then sustainability may be much further off. So we have to take a step back in order to leap forward toward the sustainability goals. So obviously, when this comes to us, I think it's important, and I think we should act the same way that Microsoft is acting. I think it's important that we focus on sustainability. That's fine. But again, don't let it be all consuming. And so again, I'm not saying don't focus on it. You can focus on it. And oftentimes, if you buy things that are made more sustainability, perhaps they're made with less chemicals and they're healthier for you too. And it's healthier to have in your house, the more sustainable product, whatever it is. And that's fine. But at the same time, just like Bill Gates is saying, just like Microsoft is saying, don't let it consume you entirely. It is not the one and only goal. There are multiple goals, and we need to pay attention to all the other goals too, and work on them together in a holistic view to try and move forward. So that's the takeaway there.